Well, good morning or evening, depending on when you are listening to this. And we are here for another edition of A Legal Studies Teacher Reads the News. Today I'm going to look at a topic that has been kind of boiling over a few times at the moment, and it's about police power. Now, this is about a pre COVID 19 series of events that occurred, and it's looking at the idea of strip searches and whether they have been conducted in the correct manner or not. This is from the Sydney Morning Herald. It's by Angus Thompson. I haven't gone to the website. There are a couple of pictures in there that I felt were, while kind of blurred out, I wasn't happy putting on my YouTube site. If you really want to see those, you can go and have a look at them. I just felt it was safer to have all pictures taken out so that we can concentrate on the words in the article. This is what it says. Police had no idea about strip search laws. Watchdog finds. The New South Wales Police Watchdog has found officers who unlawfully strip searched children at music festivals, an Aboriginal boy on the street, and other victims of illegal procedures didn't understand the law and lacked the training to abide by it. Law Enforcement Conduct Commission urged New South Wales Police to adopt a firm policy on exactly when strip searches should be conducted after one officer conceded to a public inquiry all 19 strip searches he conducted at a festival may have been illegal. The government oversight body also criticised police over the lack of privacy they provided people being made to undress and dismiss notions, the belief that many festival patrons concealing drugs in internal cavities amounted to enough reasonable suspicion to search. So what's going on here? Why is this a good article to look at for crime as the core study of Legal Studies Stage 6? First of all, it is a contemporary example of an issue that's happening, and it involves criminal law and processes and institutions, and there's a tension there between community interests and individual rights and freedoms. So really, it's covering a whole bunch of the principal focus. And how is it doing that? Well, first of all, it's the question of the role of discretion in the criminal justice system. And I'm not talking here about judges making decisions about sentencing. I'm talking about during a criminal investigation process. What role does discretion play in police deciding when it's okay to strip search someone? And this comes down to questions of, are they complying in regards to criminal law and the powers that are given to them? Are their actions reflecting moral and ethical standards about what's appropriate police power and when is a strip search required? And also the role of law reform. Because at the moment, what's happening? We have the Law Enforcement Conduct Commission looking into these activities. So there's a whole bunch of questions that need to be asked. In fact, the extent to which the law balances the rights of victims, offenders, and society is in there as well. And at the end of the day, you could probably also work out whether this has achieved justice for the victims. So it's a cracking example that fits so many themes and challenges in this topic. So what's going on? We've got this problem of officers who either haven't been trained or don't know when it's appropriate to strip search someone. And it appears their methodology when stripping someone and searching someone also hasn't been very good. Let's continue on. Officers' reliance upon festival goers becoming nervous when confronted by police and sniffer dogs was equally problematic, the Commission found. The Commission released 5 reports into allegations of illegal strip searches on Friday, finding all of them had been undertaken unlawfully and none of them resulted in finding prohibited drugs. Okay, so that's quite damning there. In each report, the Commission has found that the involved police lacked the appropriate understanding of the legal requirements regarding the conduct of strip searches and had not received adequate training, it said in a statement. Okay, so here's this question. You've got the police saying, do this to a citizen, and they actually don't know whether this is appropriate or not, whether they're actually legally allowed to conduct a strip search because they haven't received adequate training. This is not a rogue cop. This is not someone, like in the movies where the cop just doesn't give a damn, he's going to find stuff. This is somebody who didn't know, who did not receive the adequate training on the job. It's not necessarily the fault of the police officer, although just me, if I'm not sure, I'm probably going to ask rather than just assume strip searching's fine. But it's a question of what processes were in place in the police to make sure this didn't happen. The Commission said it was satisfied New South Wales Police had undertaken measures to address its concerns. The force has instituted many changes affecting the way its officers conduct strip searches, including the creation of a personal search manual, 2 brochures, improved procedures for recording information, and the development of mandatory training. So there's an example of undertaking reform in order to make sure that you are actually fitting into a lawful policy structure. A New South Wales police spokesperson said the force would consider the recommendations and findings made by the Commission. The New South Wales Police Force is committed to continuous improvement and has developed initiatives to standardise operational orders and enhance compliance, the spokesperson said. One of the reports was into the strip searching of 3 boys aged 15 to 17 at an underage musical festival at Sydney Olympic Park in February 2019, during which an officer and I myself have redacted some key terms here that I'm sure you can fit in there if you really need to, which an officer told one of the teens to lift your up and show me your. Another found officers acted illegally in requiring a 16-year-old girl to take off her clothes at Splendour in the Grass in Byron Bay in 2018 in absence of a parent or guardian, which is unlawful. I could not believe this was happening to me. I could not stop crying. I was completely humiliated, the girl, whose identity has been suppressed, said in a statement read out to a public hearing in October last year. The Commission also found that search was unlawful because the door flap in the designated area didn't fully close. Another investigated unlawful strip searches of a 16-year-old Aboriginal boy in the street of a large regional town. And later in the vehicle dock of the local police station in November 2018. The Commission found a sergeant committed a humiliating abuse of power upon the boy, which the other officers failed to report. And the evidence of all officers involved showed they had no idea they were committing multiple breaches of the law. So that's really quite worrying, isn't it? Multiple police officers not knowing that they were breaching multiple aspects of the law. Operation Karuka dealt with 2 strip searches of a handcuffed Aboriginal male in a Sydney police station in June 2017, while Operation Sandbridge looked into the unlawful arrest and strip searching of a man, 53, in Sydney in March 2015, and his failed prosecution for hindering police. In that case, the New South Wales District Court ordered police to pay the man $112,000 in damages, plus legal costs. By law, police are only permitted to carry out field strip searches if the urgency and seriousness of the situation requires it. Now, this is something that I continually hark on to my guys about. So often in courtrooms and in following policy and public procedure, etc., becomes this question of definition. So see how Angus finishes off the article. But after hearing many officers, including senior ranking police, had trouble explicitly defining what that meant, the LECC, Law Enforcement Corruption Commission, I believe it's called, Conduct Commission, my apologies, recommended New South Wales Police take a policy position on what would satisfy the seriousness and urgency threshold and communicate it to its officers. So it's this question of definition, and therefore becomes a question of the role of discretion. If you're leaving it up to the discretion of a police officer to say, what do you think is serious and urgent, obviously multiple times their beliefs of what is serious and urgent has not abided by the law as it stands. In fact, I think if you'd asked most of these people what needed to be actually the case in order for a strip search to occur, many of them simply could not have answered. That's clearly what the article's saying. What we've talked about the themes and challenges this looks at, which is all of them. What about actual syllabus dot points? Well, you'd come down here and you'd look at the criminal investigation process. And you're looking here at police powers. So the concept of LEPRA, Law Enforcement Police and Responsibilities Act, and what powers that gives the police. You'd also have a bunch of thinking around gathering of evidence, search and seizure, arrest and charge, things, probably detention, interrogation, rights of suspects. There's heaps there. And you're really thinking through and going, well, what is effective? If we're assessing the effectiveness as a means of achieving justice, obviously the police have massively let down the public here. And it's good, it is fantastic that they have admitted to that, and they are working, as the spokesperson said, to improve that. So hopefully that occurs. But this is a really good example of police powers that you can talk about with students, and that you can talk about in the crime question. If you're asked about reform, if you're asked about any of these themes and challenges, this fits in really well. So hopefully that helps when you're thinking through contemporary issues, asking the question about crime, asking the idea of what does discretion look like in the criminal justice system, compliance, non-compliance, the extent to which the law reflects moral and ethical standards. Check out strip searches and you will find a whole range of articles. Each of these incidences was actually reported on. So if you go back and you look up strip searches in ABC News or Sydney Morning Herald, you'll find a whole bunch of articles looking at that.